only Ogoni woman, the only Nigerian woman that has slapped his face.
Why did you slap him? Why did you slap him?
He slapped him because of his plan B. He thought that he could, since he couldn't get me to take that money, he thought that plan B, if it could come up on me, he didn't know that I'm a Port Harcourt girl. Port Harcourt girls are not moved by money, by somebody telling me that you will make me a substantive MD. The Port Harcourt girls are
Can we clarify this? Because we can't gloss over a slap. What is the plan B? He came up on you. What exactly does that mean?
We were having a meeting. Akpabio's meeting with me is either in Apple or at Meridian or whatever. Those are his meetings. I slapped him.
Well, Joy, are you accusing Senator Akpabio of attempted rape? Is that the point you are making? Or sexual harassment?
Harassment sounds better, not rape.
Okay, so you are accusing him
And by the way, let me just point this out. The last managing director that you mentioned, Joy Nunia,
yeah.
No matter the allegation, I wish that she would maybe go to a hospital, see a doctor, and then get maybe some injection and relax. People cannot be in offices.
Something wrong with her.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with her. I'm saying that there's something wrong with her temperament.
Okay.
Because you don't need to ask me. You can ask about 4 other husbands that she married, and then you also need to bring all the former husbands. At least bring 4 of them that she had married in the past to this studio, so that you ask them questions one after the other, because it looks like a character problem.
Well, they have answers to her professional,
they will have answers
to her professional conduct.
They will not professional conduct. That is not the issue. What is?
Good morning and welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshakin, and of course this morning we'll be reading the front page of Vanguard newspaper. And here we have Day 6, panel quizzes Magu on 700 million training fund. And the writer says, panel orders Magu's office in Abuja, Lagos locked up. 18 of his aides also locked out of their offices. 3 bulletproof SUVs recovered from him, and panel arrest operative seizes computers. You can see that on page 5. And on page 4, we have Nigeria takes more time to appeal $9.6 billion award. I was gang raped by herdsmen giving blood to drink, a kidnapper victim, and you can see this on page 2. And moving on to other stories below, on page 3, we have COVID-19, federal government unveils 52-page guidelines for schools reopening. Kidnapping, court admits 6 guns recovered from Wadume into evidence. Of course, you can see this on page 4. And on the front page, we have a photo story of WTC Abuja on fire. And of course, here we have smoke flows from the penthouse of the World Trade Center building in Abuja yesterday. Now, moving on to the stories above, on page 27, we have Endgame, banks now to seize the defaulters' funds in other banks. 35 doctors in Kwara test positive for COVID-19. NDDC, Akpabio join Nune in war of dirty words. Bandits kill 24, burn houses in Kaduna. As you can see this on page 2. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, of course, the Lagos records 156 new infections as confirmed cases rise to 33,153, with death rates rose to 744 in the country. And that's all we have on the paper review. Of course, we'll be going on a short break now. And after the break, we have 2 guests with us that will be analyzing the front page of these stories. Stay with us, we'll be back.
And by the way, let me just point this out. The last managing director that you mentioned, Joy Nunia,
yeah.
No matter the allegation, I wish that she would maybe go to a hospital, see a doctor, and then get maybe some injection and relax. people cannot be in
there's
offices.
Something wrong with her.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with her. I'm saying that there's something wrong with her temperament.
Okay.
Because you don't need to ask me. You can ask about 4 other husbands that she married, and then you also need to bring all the former husbands. At least bring 4 of them that she had married in the past to this studio, so that you ask them questions one after the other, because it looks like a character problem.
Well, they have answers to her professional,
they will have answers
to her professional conduct.
They will not professional conduct. That is not an issue. What is
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still today in the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshakin, and we finished the paper review segment. And right now, this is the analysis segment. And of course, here today, I have 2 guests that will be joining me. And joining us via Zoom is is the head of Journalism Department, School of Communication of Lagos State University, as he joins us via Zoom, and that's Dr. Jide Jimo. Dr. Jide Jimo, good morning.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And also in the studio with me this morning is Mr. Aliu Mohammed. He is the CEO of Magnate Communication and, of course, the former editor of Concord newspaper and Daily Times. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's lovely having you here with us in the studio. Okay, so going over to you, Dr. Jide Jimo. You know, the suspended acting chairman of EFCC, that's Ibrahim Magu, appeared before the presidential panel, probing him for the 6th time yesterday. And you know, of course, we were seeing on the papers different news, and of course, we read on the papers that over 300, he could not account for over 300 houses that were seized by the EFCC, and also like over billions of naira that he couldn't also account for. So what do you think about all these things going on? Because of course Nigerians are really curious to know. Dr. Jide.
It's a very sad development. Hello?
Yes,
it's a very sad development. At the end of the day, Nigeria as a corporate entity will be a loser. This administration came up, and one of the unique selling points, or the most important unique selling point, was actually the fight against corruption. Unfortunately, what we have cannot be referred to as really fighting corruption. Let us start from in-house. The government that is divided against itself cannot stand. Look at the process of appointment and confirmation of Magu himself. Within this same government, there were discordant tunes. The president submits a name to the National Assembly. Within that presidency, one of the agencies also wrote a company report indicting the nominee. So, ab initio, the fight against corruption would not have been said to have taken off correctly. But let us be mindful and just be hopeful that all of these humongous amounts that we are hearing about will not be proven. If they get proven, then it has serious implication for Nigeria. Who do we trust? If the people who are supposed to fight corruption are the ones being accused of corruption, the situation is almost hopeless. And this is not the first time. We set up commissions, set up investigative panels, and the panels themselves turn out to be even more corrupt, and they worsen the situation they were supposed to correct. We've had it throughout our history since independence. There are cases where the committee will be set up to look into corruption cases, and another committee will be set up to look into the committee that looked at the committee that was originally set up. It's a very disturbing development, and I think we need more education in the society. Yes.
Please hold on to your thought for some.
All levels.
Okay, please hold on to your thought for now.
Yes.
Mr. Liu, Dr. Jide mentioned that that this team that we asked to probe them, that there are situations where they also need to be probed and all this, and he says that what we have right now can't fight corruption. What do you think about this statement?
Like he said, from the revelations coming out of this panel's daily sitting is disturbing. We have very severe allegations coming up against Magu, and people seem to have some level of confidence in the person heading, that is the judge heading that panel. Looking at his antecedents, people believe that justice will be done, and the things that the panel should look at are the genuineness or not. One of them is the genuineness or not of those allegations against Magu. That he couldn't account for 300 houses. Who are the people involved in the sale of those 300 houses? We have the Office of the Attorney General, who gives instructions to the chairman of the EFCC. You can't totally absorb the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation from all these developments. From what I have read, Magu himself has raised some allegations against the Attorney General of the Federation. All those allegations should be thoroughly investigated. If that is not done, I don't think the panel would have done a complete job. Just like
okay, still talking about this panel now. No, it was said that the panel ordered that his offices in Abuja and Lagos be locked up, and he was arrested last week. Don't you think this is
that is coming in too late? I expected that the day that trial commenced and Magu was arrested, the office should have been locked up to avoid any of his staff tampering with important documents. It is coming a bit too late. That was an action that I see as a very wrong one. If you are investigating somebody, I expect that by now you will have all your evidences, and once the person is going to trial, all the necessary steps that should be taken should have been taken. By getting his office locked up, immediately was arrested. Pick up the computers if you feel that you have enough evidence that you can get vital information from those computers. But here we are, 1 week over after his arrest and trial, you are just locking up his office. You are making a mess of they are making a mess of this so-called anti-corruption crusade.
Okay, I'll be back to you now. Dr. Jide, it was, according to some of the information gathered, it said that, some of his associates, planned to, spirit him out of his detention. And also, some days also we read that, he was coughing profusely in the, the old banquet hall. And, talking about some persons, said they needed to bring him, to take him to the hospital. Meanwhile, a doctor was brought in to take care of him. And this is not actually the first time that we've seen someone in detention, and, people saying that he's sick and he should be taken out and all this. So do you think this is also planned? This is part of the plan to whisk him out of this of the detention?
Well, let us talk about the question of French status and not rest. This is not the first time. Our political leaders, public servants, and the rest, whenever they're in a very small, tight situation, they get sick. Well, I'm not saying that is what is happening here, but it's also deja vu. We've seen it all happen. But let us move to solutions, really. In the first place, I think some of these our fights are not institutionalized. The fight against corruption, they are more or less personalized. Let me give you an example. Within EFCC, there's a man called Ayoloni. He has made allegations. He is actually in court to say that he has been intimidated. He has his rights have been trampled upon personally by Magu. You know, just because he was perceived to be possible alternative at the beginning, because they actually, from the stories I heard, they actually showed interest in becoming the EFCC chairman. You know, the processes of discipline were short-circuited, and the man has been out in the limbo. You know, so if you are climbing a public office on that kind of a negative system, you know, process, then you are bound to have problem until institutions are allowed to run, and then succession plans clearly outlined without leaving out people, other people who are also qualified to be there. So,
okay, Dr. Jide.
Even get to the position, compromises, yes, compromises the occupier, and therefore he continues to look behind him, look around him before even doing the job. You know, so you need to institutionalize some of these programs that we have. It's very important. So that processes will be followed. You know, look at the mess too at the NDDC. Instructions, write this, don't write that, sign this, don't sign that. Are there no institutional processes to carry out those functions?
Okay, Dr. Jide, sorry to cut you in.
The whim and caprices of individuals. That is the major problem in all of these fights against corruption that were emerged in.
Okay, you know, in EFCC history now, we've heard, we've had, of course, the EFCC chairman has said that they don't complete their tenure in good faith. We had the case of Nuhu Rubadu. He was demoted because he was accused of corruption. Where Farida Waziru and also Ibrahim, also he faced the corruption allegations. And same thing now is going on with the suspended acting chairman Ibrahim Magu. So, do you think something is actually wrong?
Yes, a lot is okay. Ask you. Let me ask Nigerians. What happened to those issues?
So what do you think is wrong?
Lamonde and all the rest. You see, what we see is that those processes start, big allegations will be made, then mad moves, and then everything goes down. What happened to the original allegations against these people? Were they proven? Were they punished? Were they just allowed to go? Was it planned primarily to remove them? So, if we are objective about this allegation, never have been done. Not to exonerate anybody on what we have, because, like we said, there's no smoke without fire. You know. So, things ought to be.
Okay, Dr. Jide, I'll back to you in a minute. You know, okay, now,
So when he says something, you bring out a document to show him that you are right. It is. So, and let me talk this concept of media. Of course, he was also being sacked. That in our public institutions, even about 3 weeks ago or 4, Magu himself said that he has learned some of our looters are in Ghana. And very soon he will be visiting Ghana. So he expects to sit down and be waiting for him without doing some of those processes, without putting their own houses in order. In other times, the time an operative visits you, he has most of the evidence to nail you. Look at even this hush puppy affair. They were following him for a very long time, and they had wanted to nail him. That they will now start asking him to prove that was this. They were also showing him evidences of his acts. So I do not like media trial. It's all, you know, you will have thoughts, you will have people will have had expectations, and then you can't prove it.
Okay, Dr. Jide, I'll be back.
It's a call to our public institutions. We believe it's allowing, for example, and we hope that we do justice to the whole process.
Okay.
You know, that our investigative arms should always have enough concrete, unassailable evidences before they rein in the accused.
Okay, Dr. Jide, we are going on a short break now. When we return, we'll continue. And of course, if you are just joining us, this is still Today in the News. We're going on a short break now. And when we return, of course, we'll continue where we stopped. And of course, I still have my guest with me.
The only Ogoni woman, the only Nigerian woman that has slapped his face.
Why did you slap him? Why did you slap him?
He slapped him because of his plan B. He thought that he could, since he couldn't get me to take that money, he thought that plan B, if it could come up on me, he didn't know that I'm a Port Harcourt girl. Port Harcourt girls are not moved by money, by somebody telling me that you make me a substantive MD. The Port Harcourt girls are
Can we clarify this? Because this is, we can't gloss over a slap. What is the plan B? He came up on you. What exactly does that mean?
We were having a meeting. Akpabio's meeting with me is either in Apple or at Meridian or whatever. Those are his meetings. I slapped him.
Well, Joy, are you accusing Senator Akpabio of attempted rape? Is that the point you are making? Or sexual harassment?
Harassment sounds better, not rape.
Okay, so you are accusing him expressly of sexual harassment?
Yes, I am accused.
All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, it's Today in the News on Vanguard Live, and of course we've been analyzing some of the stories on the dailies this morning. And I've been with the CEO of Magnate Communication, Mr. Aliu Mohammed. Of course, he's in the studio with me, and I've had the head of Journalism Department, School of Communication, Lagos State University. That's Dr. Jide Jimo. Of course, he has been with us live via Zoom. Okay, welcome back. Okay, now. Mr. Liu, before we went on the break, we were talking about Magu and all that. So, talking about Magu now, there have been calls, they've been saying that, instead of the police department or a police officer, coming to head the EFCC, that they should bring a neutral person, like a citizen, to come and head EFCC, just like that of course, of the custom, and of course, this is working for custom. So, do you actually think, what do you think about it? Do you think it's possible?
Well, it is possible. Let me start from why we keep having a recurrence of the heads of EFCC being booted out for corruption. You see, the problem we have here in Nigeria, like I have always told my friends, is impunity. the Magu can do all this because his predecessors who were accused of corruption are still walking the streets free. You know that after some noise, he will also be released if at all he is probed. We must start punishing people for the offenses they commit. Impunity breeds corruption. It breeds all sorts of evils in a country where it reigns. And so I will say confidently that Magu is able to do what he is doing now because his predecessors were not punished. They are walking the streets free and spending the money they have stolen. Ribadu has gone into politics. He's spending all the money is there. If those people had been jailed for the offenses they committed, I am sure Mr. Magu will be very careful in dipping his hands into this crisis. Now let's go back to your question. Yes, policemen and corruption are like Siamese twins. I am sorry to say this because the truth of the matter is that there is nowhere you put a policeman. Look at what happened during the lockdown and the interstate lockdown. People were coming into Lagos after paying some amount of. Somebody came out and said policemen made over 3 billion. I don't know how they got that figure. If it is true, I think we must look for. It is high time we look for either a retired judge to take over the operations of the EFCC. I mean, because at the level of retirement, a judge will be conscious of his name, and he won't want to do anything that will soil his name. He won't want to do anything that will impugn on his character. But for as long as you continue to put retired policemen, who continue to have this kind of crisis, we'll continue to have it because, like I said, let me go back to the problem of impunity that we have here. There is the son of somebody who was on the internet for spending dollars. The son of the Attorney General. By now, I expect the authorities to have come up with a statement on that. Akpabio, the messy interviews and name callings going on the TV is a big embarrassment to the government. So, and I expect government to have issued a statement or even put Akpabio himself and that lady on trial by now.
You know, we'll still come over to the Akpabio story. Talking about. So, Dr. Jide Jimo, what do you think of Mr. Aliu's thoughts that a retired judge should head an EFCC?
Yes, I think the whole EFCC Act needs to be rejigged and ensure the level playing ground for any other person from the arm of government or even civil society who is competent to be able to head that organization. The restriction to certain people, maybe police, paramilitary, and all the rest, I think it should be removed. And then there's also the question of the chairman of EFCC and the board. The way it's presently going on, the man who accused somebody, even in terms of discipline within EFCC, and will also be, to effect whatever punishment that will be remitted to the person. So it makes the chairman too powerful. So there's no restricting force, there's no restraining force that will say, oh, you have taken this decision. The board has also looked it and have some. So really, just like things should change. The whole EFCC Act should be looked at again in order to remove some of these anomalies. Yes, I think Bremer's at the beginning might want somebody powerful so that you won't be bogged down by and not the rest. But you can see that it's not working. It's arrogating too much power to one seat. You know, there should be check and balance at least at the wait now, the chairman, and if you have like he said, absolute power corrupts. Yes, so we need to look at that thing seriously.
Okay, Dr. Jide. Okay, now I'll be back to you now. So, Mr. Lee, we're talking about Akpabio and Joynune, following these sexual harassment and, its response. What do you think about
it is embarrassing to the government. It is disturbing that a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will have his name soiled in such a reckless manner. The MD of NDDC said she slapped Akpabio because Akpabio wanted to have sex with her. I've listened to so many interviews by Akpabio. He has not been able to address the allegations raised against him. Instead of addressing these allegations, he keeps referring people to the four wives that this woman, the four husbands that this woman was married to. What has four husbands got to do with the allegations raised against him? One of them was that she was asked to swear to an oath, approve $1,000 for Christmas, approve some money, approval of some money to him and his cronies. This man is yet to respond to all these allegations. I am embarrassed, I am disturbed that he has not been able to summon the courage to respond to these allegations, and somebody in government is watching this drama without taking any decision.
So do you think it needs to be investigated? Right?
It should be investigated. It is making, like doctor said, is making nonsense of the anti-corruption fight of this government. A minister of the federal, a sitting minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has been accused by his MD of trying to abuse her sexually and trying to force her to approve some funny amounts of money to him and his cronies. It is, those allegations are worthy enough for investigation. So I expect the government to look into this allegation. The minister should be suspended immediately if there is any procedure like that, and a similar panel, maybe the same kind of panel that is probing Magu, should probe all these allegations. If those allegations are found to be true, appropriate punishments should be meted out to either Akpabio or the MD of NDDC. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for that. Dr. Jide, we've seen it now that said 35 doctors in Kwara State tested positive for COVID-19. So, we've heard citizens see the cases increasing daily and all that in all states, in almost all the states in Nigeria. And, talking about this COVID-19, now it's months into the pandemic and we see doctors testing positive to COVID-19. What should we fault for these? Because doctors are the ones taking care of them. Should we say the PPE is not enough? What do you think is wrong?
I didn't get the last part.
Now I'm talking of.
I think you were talking about cares and the care that should be given to
doctors. Do you think the PP? Do you think the PPE is not enough? What do you think it's going on? Doctors testing positive for COVID-19. This is months into the pandemic, and we are still talking about the same thing.
It's very sad, very, very sad. It's just an indication, a confirmation that we have not been taking care of those we have asked to take care. Now it's like sending soldiers to battle without guns, without bullets, without anything to fight with. The PP should be a matter of should be provided as a matter of course.
Dr. Jide. Okay, I think we're having connection problem. We'll get back to you in a minute. Okay, so Mr. Liu, talking about these doctors and this thing, and now we are talking about schools. Guidelines review released. Although, okay, I think we have them back. Okay, so we're talking about the guidelines released and all this. So do you know? Yes, hello, Dr. Jide. Yes, Dr. Jide. Okay, go ahead from there. Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. So it's a shame that we are sending people to battle without the requisite ammunition to fight it. In terms of even their remuneration at this period, it should be increased. All the allowances paid, it will make them happy to save our lives. It is in the enlightened self-interest of Nigeria and its leaders to happen to the cries of the medical doctors and all other people involved in this fight against COVID-19. We cannot afford to have problems with those who are supposed to be saving our lives. So that's my view on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Liu, quickly, we're talking about the schools guidelines review, released 52 guidelines. Should we say schools are ready to open? And one important question I want to ask you, we have, we of course, Christian Association of Nigeria was talking about, that since markets and other places can be reopened, schools can be reopened, and also people are saying it. Do you think this analogy is correct?
It's not. You can't compare the markets with schools or churches. The markets are important to our survival. That is where you buy food, and that is where you buy what you need to keep going. The school is important because without schools we won't be what we are. But again, here we have to be careful because you don't know the situation of things in the different homes from where all these children are coming. You don't know whether their parents have COVID-19 or not. So if you allow the schools to open immediately, we could have a crisis on our hands. Even in some part of China, where schools have been opened, the schools have again been shut down because of the surging in the figure of infected patients. Churches, you need churches, we need prayers, but we all know the way people behave in our religious houses. People believe that with God, you don't have to take care of yourself. But they forgot that even the Bible itself said, give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto God what belongs to God. If you must protect yourself against COVID-19, please do, and back yourself up with prayers and vitamins to boost your immunity. But if you ignore all that, I see danger ahead.
Thank you very much. Dr. Jide, last question. Still talking about these COVID-19 stuff, do you actually think that, we are in the East, teachers, parents, of course, even the students, they are in the East to go back to school. But do you think, if schools are asked to reopen, do you think they will reopen this correctly?
I don't think they will, because of some structural problems that we have in our educational institutions. Even societies that have better options, better preparation, better infrastructure are finding out that they cannot even cope. The first thing is that our institutions are overfilled. They are too many students in a class, too many pupils in a class. It is difficult to manage. And it is our history, our preparation that is catching up with us. When you have a class where you have over 80, 100, 120 students, one teacher, how do you want to maintain social distance? We have halls, school halls that can take students and allow spacing. In some of them, even if they were to come 3 times a day, 3 hours a day, maybe in the morning, evening, and any other time, you still will not be able to achieve that. And even our tendency to cut corners. Maybe after 1 week, 2 weeks, the inspectors will come and maintain social distance. So we do not trust ourselves to be able to keep to some of the regulations. So let us still wait and see how we are able to flatten this curve, because the cases are increasing, and then we should not confound it by having people that get in a place that we cannot control.
Thank you, Dr. Jide Jimo, for sharing your voice with us.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Limo, for sharing your knowledge with us. And that's what we have for you today on Today in the News. You can always like and follow us on our social media platforms that are showing your screen, or visit our website www.vanguardngr.com to get more of our top stories and also other interesting shows that will be coming on. It's bye from me.
Only Ogoni woman, the only Nigerian woman that has slapped his face.
Why did you slap him? Why did you slap him?
He slapped him because of his plan B. He thought that he could, since he couldn't get me to take that money, he thought that plan B, if it could come up on me, he didn't know that I'm a Port Harcourt girl. Port Harcourt girls are not moved by money, by somebody telling me that you make me a substantive MD. The Port Harcourt girls are
Can we clarify this? Because we can't gloss over a slap. What is the plan B? He came up on you. What exactly does that mean?
We were having a meeting. Akpabio's meeting with me is either in Apple or at Meridian or whatever. Those are his meetings. I slapped him.
Well, Joy, are you accusing Senator Akpabio of attempted rape? Is that the point you are making? Or sexual harassment?
Harassment sounds better, not rape.
Okay, so you are accusing him expressly of sexual harassment?
Yes, I am accusing.
And by the way, let me just point this out. The last managing director that you mentioned, Joy Nunia,
yeah.
No matter the allegation, I wish that she would maybe go to a hospital, see a doctor, and then get maybe some injection and relax. People cannot be in offices.
Something wrong with her.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with her. I'm saying that there's something wrong with her temperament.
Okay.
Because you don't need to ask me. You can ask about 4 other husbands that she married. And then you also need to bring all the former husbands, at least bring 4 of them that she had married in the past, to this studio, so that you ask them questions one after the other, because it looks like a character problem.
Well, they have answers to her professional,
they will have answers
to her professional conduct.
They will not professional conduct. That is not an issue. What is